Am I the asshole for being a Karen at dinner? I'm a 21-year-old male, and my friends are 22-year-old female, 23-year-old male, 24-year-old male, and 21-year-old female. We went out to eat for my 22-year-old female friend's birthday. We got a few rounds of drinks, and then ordered our appetizers and entrees at the same time. And I made sure to tell our server to please pace the meal so that our apps and entrees were not served with each other. The apps come, and 5 minutes after that, all of our entrees were being served. Now, all of us were a little frustrated given the fact that I told the server to pace the meal appropriately. We asked that they be taken back, and they wait for us to finish our apps. The server takes the entrees back, and 2 minutes later, a food runner now brings us the same food that we had just sent back. We politely told him that we are still eating our appetizers, and so he brings it back to the kitchen again. So, we finish our appetizers and now are ready for the entrees. About 20 minutes go by, and we have nothing. Our server hadn't come by to check on us at all, and at this point, we were both ready for another round and still hungry. Finally, only my entree comes out and nobody else's, and my food is ice cold. I had wrongly assumed that my food was sitting on the hot plate waiting for me as opposed to just off to the side in the kitchen. Now, I tried calling our server over, but she didn't come over until everyone else got their food. I told our server that my food was cold, and without skipping a beat, she responded with verbatim, "It's not cold." She hadn't felt the plate or the food itself, and so I was taken aback by the resentment towards me. So now I was really angry, and we ended up calling over a manager who was being very nice. We told her we hadn't gotten the chance to order another round, and she offered to buy this next round for us and take my pasta off the bill. We told her we all wanted a refill on our margaritas. 10 minutes later, our server brings us 5 little shots of tequila and says, "My manager wanted me to tell you this is your next round on us." Now, I was confused because I thought we were getting margs, but whatever, free alcohol is free alcohol. But of course, one of my friend goes, "Oh, these were supposed to be margaritas." Our server looks at us and straight up says, "You know what, I'm done with you guys," and walks away. We see the manager, so we ask for our check because our server was full on avoiding us at that point. Our server then comes to our table, hands us our check, and is very nice and happy like nothing ever happened. I said, "Wait, I thought you were done with us." And she replies, "Oh yeah, I forgot," and walks away. The manager cashes us out, and I was just so angry in the heat of the moment that I stiffed our server out of a tip, which I would never do, but I felt that it was the only thing I could do just from the disrespect we had gotten. If we were a pain in the ass, I get it, but the attitude was straight up unprofessional. Am I the asshole for acting this way in this situation? That's a lot of drama for such a simple meal. However, the thing is, I don't think you're being fair to your server. You've already gone out to eat at this restaurant and know how it works. You should have known what the wait time was before you even sat down at your table. This whole ordeal could have been avoided if you were more patient with the service, as well as keeping in mind that other people were waiting for their food too. I do feel bad for your server because she was just doing her job and had no control over how long it takes for your food to arrive. It sounds like this was an unfortunate experience, but maybe next time you can try being more patient and understanding toward other people's situations. Am I the asshole for buying a luxury watch instead of paying my fiance's parents back? I, a 31-year-old male, am in a relationship with a woman, Jen, a 26-year-old female. Jen and I have dated for 2 years now, and we got engaged 3 months ago. Neither Jen and I are good with finances. In our city, this can't really be helped, seeing as everything is egregiously overpriced. But it is what it is, and we do the best that we can. About a month ago, Jen and I decided to talk about our finances and savings, and so I brought up my online banking account to show her. In my checking account, I had a few $1,000s, but in my savings account, I had a bit over $8,000. Jen got super excited upon seeing that figure, saying we could use it to travel. I explained to Jen that this money was going towards a watch I wanted to buy. She responded with, and I quote, "F that," saying that she wanted to go to Europe with me instead. I immediately popped that balloon, as this was the result of me saving $150 to $250 a month for years. I was extremely clear, Europe was not going to happen. Jen got a bit upset, but finally, I got her to drop the issue. About a week later, Jen came to me and said that I needed to come with her to a travel agent because she made a down payment for a package deal to France. Having seen her finances, I knew that Jen didn't have the money. When I asked her where she had come up with it, she said she borrowed it from her parents with the promise that she'd pay them back in about a week. Again, I was confused, but she said that the money I had in my account was more than enough to pay them back, and that instead of getting a stupid, overpriced watch, I should make memories with your fiancé. I told her that she needed to go to the agency and beg for her money back, but she said it was too late. A few minutes later, I got in my car, drove to the watch store, and I told the guy I'd talked to about half a dozen times about the watch that I was ready to buy it. I paid in cash and came home. There, I showed Jen my watch and said, "That savings account now has a few $100 in it. Get your money back." She shrieked at me about it, and I told her that she had to go beg, cry, and get on her knees at the agency if that's what it took. Miraculously, she pulled it off and paid her parents back in full. But now she's incredibly angry and keeps telling me that it's my turn to go beg for my money back. Her parents are completely on her side and keep saying that going into a lifetime commitment, I don't need a luxury watch. Not sure about this one. I will include the following information because people here are incessantly focusing on how I spent my money. 1. I have maxed out my 401k every year since I was 23. In terms of retirement, my 20s were spent saving way more than the average American. 2. I spent the majority of my 20s also financially supporting my mentally ill sister. I no longer have to support her, and therefore I began dating Jen with marriage in mind. My question was about whether stranding Jen after her impulsive decision like that was an asshole move. It wasn't about whether I should keep more money in my savings account. If anyone here who has maxed out their 401k throughout their 20s while supporting a family member would like to chime in, go ahead. But I don't really care. I think I might have jumped the gun on that purchase, but I had already had my mind made up for years. Am I the asshole? I'm glad you got your watch, and I think it's great that you stood up for yourself. Jen sounds like a real piece of work. I can't believe she tried to get you to use your savings for a trip when it was obvious that that money was meant for something else. She has no business borrowing money from her parents without telling them what it's for. That's really disrespectful to them and to you. I don't know how much I can really tell you about how relationships work or what women want from men, but I will say this. You've been with Jen for 2 years now, and if she were as respectful of your finances as she is of her parents, then maybe things would be different between the two of you. It sounds like her priorities are all out of whack, and she doesn't respect your decisions or efforts at all. She keeps saying that you need to beg for your money back. That seems pretty petty and disrespectful to me. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my husband eat dinner with me and the kids? This might sound silly, but my husband loves food, not gaming, not YouTube. His weakness is food. I don't hold this against him in any way, but he eats a lot. He's fit and regularly attends the gym, and sometimes I find myself cooking bigger portions of food because he'd attempt to eat from our daughter's plates, leaving them still hungry. We always run out of snacks as well, so there are times when I have to cook twice a day. Yesterday at 4 p.m., I was out with the girls to get new haircuts. I had already prepared dinner and left it in the fridge. I told my husband that I put his portion aside for when he got back from the gym so we could go ahead and eat if me and the girls were going to be late. I called him at the salon and he said he got home and had his dinner and was going to do some work in his office. At 8 p.m., me and the girls returned home and I quickly went into the kitchen to reheat dinner because we were so hungry. I opened the fridge and the food I prepared was gone. I asked him, and he said he felt hungry after eating earlier and ate our dinner. I was angry, kept thinking, what were we going to eat? I kept looking for other options, and when I asked him about other foods, he kept shaking his head, saying we already ran out of this and ran out of that. I bluntly said he was selfish to eat the girls' dinner. He said he couldn't help it. He's always hungry. I went to order food from the restaurant for just me and the girls. When our order arrived, I called the girls and sat to eat. A few minutes later, he walked out of the office and was upset that we didn't call him to join us for dinner. I told him he already had dinner, not only once, but twice, and that I did not include him in our order since he's already ate. He lashed out, saying that I was doing this deliberately, ordering food from his favorite restaurant. Pretty much all the restaurants are his favorite, and excluding him from dinner and teaching the girls to treat him as he was unwanted at dinner tables. I called him selfish. This dinner was for me and the girls since he already ate our previous dinner that I spent time making. He admitted he was wrong to eat our dinner and said he felt bad afterwards, but said it was totally worth it. There's no doctor, therapist, or pastor that could help him with this problem. He's just a man who loves food. But I was behaving passive-aggressive towards him and implying that him liking food is a problem, which is incorrect. We argued for minutes, then he went back into the office saying I should feel bad for excluding him from our meal. Needless to say, he hasn't spoken to me ever since and keeps teasing the girls about no longer sharing his snacks with them since they were okay with me excluding him from dinner. Am I the jerk here? Wow, your husband is clearly the jerk here. I can't believe he couldn't even resist his urge to eat even when it came to your daughters and had his own portion laid out for him. Surely he would think to put them first and find another way to get something to eat for himself. I love the way you went about taking your revenge, especially the touch of getting the food from his favorite restaurant. That must have stung for him to see. Am I the jerk for telling my coworker that it's not my fault that she's single when she said that it's not okay for my husband to send me gifts at our workplace? I think I should clarify that he does not show up to my work to deliver the gifts in person. He usually sends me breakfast because I can't have breakfast early in the morning. So when he goes to work, he stops by my favorite cafe and he orders what he knows I like and tells them where the order should be delivered. The owners are his friends, so he can give them notes to be delivered with the order. And last but not least, I receive the order at the entrance. Nobody receives the order for for me. That's why I don't understand what bothers her so much. Also, it bothers her that I put photos of my children and my husband on my desk, which doesn't even make sense because these photos are on my side of the office. Sadly, this is not the first time she says that I'm being unprofessional. For her, having photos of your children in the office is not professional, so I don't know how I should act to please her. My husband sends me gifts at work every day since we started dating. He usually sends me a rose and a coffee with a note wishing me a good day or just a note telling me that he loves me. Sometimes he also sends me chocolates or food from my favorite restaurant. He's a very romantic and attentive man, and I love that, but my coworker, 40-year-old female, doesn't like it at all. Yesterday, he sent me croissants and a coffee with a note saying he loved me, and when my coworker saw it, she said I should tell him to stop. That it's not appropriate to receive gifts every day, and another coworker told her that she was being bitter and that it's nice to have such a loving husband. That since I'm pregnant, it was understandable that he spoiled me so much, but she insisted that it is not appropriate in any way, and that if he doesn't stop, she will talk to our boss. She said she will tell him that she feels uncomfortable and that I'm not being professional enough and that she wants another office mate. And that made me so mad because I'm professional enough. The things my husband sends me doesn't bother anyone, and they're not a distraction to me either, but according to her, they are. So I told her that it is not my fault that she is single and does not receive anything from anyone. That maybe if she were not so bitter, someone would send her at least a coffee. And she got angry, and now she told everyone that I was rude, and that if I don't apologize, she will talk to HR to see what they can do with me. When I told her that I did not think of being single as a bad thing, I only said it because she sounded like an envious person, that's all. But apparently what I said hurt her. Am I the jerk? You know, I have a lot of friends who are single, and I don't think it's fair to say that they're bitter because they don't have a spouse. Everyone has their reasons for being single. Maybe she's trying to be independent, or maybe she just hasn't found the right person yet. Who knows? Saying this, I also believe it's very unfair of her to be so obviously jealous of what you have and call you out for it. She should let you enjoy your relationship and the cute gestures you get from your family. It would be great if there was a way you two could sort things out so you can be civil together while at work. Am I the jerk for not taking my girlfriend's side over a sexist tradition at a restaurant? I am a second-generation French immigrant to the US. I speak French and most of my family lives in France, so I try to make a trip back to France once or twice a year. I've been dating an American girl for 2 years now. My girlfriend does not speak French at all. The actual events in question happened this winter. I usually go to France around Christmas time. The most recent Christmas, my girlfriend wanted to come with me. I said sure, as she had never been to France before, and we'd been dating almost 2 years, so it seemed reasonable. My family comes from the Southwest, but I also have family in Paris, so we stopped in Paris first. My girlfriend wanted to eat at a fancy French restaurant while we were there. Something with Michelin stars. Expensive, but not really a problem since I make pretty good money. We made a reservation for a good restaurant. Not the best, but still good. We had to make it months in advance because it's a restaurant that's high in demand. As a very upscale restaurant, there was also a dress code and things like that. We showed up and everything was fine at first. They took our coats, we sat down, the restaurant was beautiful, etc. The waiter then gave us our menu. I had to do all the communication as my girlfriend doesn't speak French. I was showing my girlfriend something on my menu, and she noticed that mine had prices and hers didn't. I'd completely forgotten about this tradition because it's just not common at all in the US. She asked me why mine had prices but not hers. I explained to her that it was a tradition in many upscale French restaurants. She called it sexist and said it was ridiculous. I told her that's just the way it is in these kind of places and that we shouldn't have come here if she was upset by this. She wanted me to ask for a menu with prices for her. I refused because we already had the prices and I didn't want to make a scene. She demanded that I confront a waiter about it or she would walk out. I called her bluff and she ended up staying, but didn't talk to me for the whole meal, which was delicious by the way. We've been back home for several months, but she keeps bringing it up. I'm honestly considering ending the relationship over this because she will not stop talking about it. She keeps accusing me of being sexist. I'm not. And has been making ridiculous comparisons. Am I the jerk? First of all, I'm glad that she doesn't speak French because if she did, I'm pretty sure she would have made a scene about it and left you embarrassed in a high-value place. It's just a shame that she brought up this topic after the fact. Like, come on! You guys had already made the reservation months in advance and it was too late to back out. I mean, sure, it sucks that the culture doesn't match what she's used to, but she has no right to take that out on you or expect to be the special exception. I don't know why anyone would want to make a scene over something like this. She should have known better. Am I the jerk for leaving an 18-cent tip and getting the waitress fired? I was dining at an upscale restaurant and the bill came out to $49.20. I pulled out a $50 bill to pay and I told the waitress I didn't need change. Goes without saying, but I was planning on leaving the rest of her tip on the table. I used to work as a server and I always tip generously. The waitress misunderstood my intentions and said, "Really?" loud enough for all the other diners to hear. Before I could say anything, she said something like, "Wow, thanks for the generous tip," snatched the payment from the table, and walked away in a huff. All the diners around me were staring daggers at me. It was humiliating. I flagged down the manager and let him know what happened. He knows me and knows I'd never stiff servers. He offered to compensate the meal, but I said it wasn't necessary. I just wanted to let him know what happened and would be on my way. The manager insisted that I was owed an apology. Made sense to me at the time. She apologizes, gets her tip, I leave, everyone's happy. When the manager called the waitress over, both of us saw her roll her eyes as she was walking here. As soon as the manager saw this, he put on his "you're about to get fired" face. All the tears and pleading made no difference. It was ugly. People were filming with their cell phones as she was being escorted to the back by some kitchen workers who probably think I'm the second coming of Satan. The manager insisted on comping our meal and we went our way. When we got home, the wife claimed I was a jerk for making a huge scene out of nothing, getting that poor girl fired over a simple misunderstanding. I feel like all I did was share a legitimate complaint to the manager. She's the one who escalated it by rolling her eyes at us. Am I being unreasonable? What would you have done in this situation? Sounds like you handled the situation as well as you could. However, you should have taken that compensation. Who wouldn't want some free food? I hope you don't experience something like this again, as I can imagine how embarrassing it must feel to be called out like that in a public restaurant. But I guess I can understand how it might happen. Servers are often underpaid and overworked, so when someone leaves no tip, they can get frustrated. Not sure how I feel about the waitress losing her job. It may have been a little extreme, but hey, I'm not the manager of a restaurant to make them decisions. Am I the jerk for driving away from a hiking trip with my boss's husband? I am a 26-year-old female who recently moved to a new city after getting a job. I have been having a hard time making friends. Most of the people I know so far are from work. We all get along, but we are not close. More like acquaintances. My boss, Sue, has been very welcoming since I moved. She often has us all over for dinner and loves to celebrate whenever there is a birthday/baby/big milestone in the team. Last week, I was out to lunch with Sue and a few other coworkers when Sue told me about a hiking group her husband runs and how it is a great way to meet new people. She said he would be leading a hike on Monday and the whole team should go since it's a holiday. Monday was my birthday, but I had not told anyone and did not have any other plans, so I said yes to the hike. I drove to the meeting spot on Monday, which is kind of remote and up in the hills. Nobody was there when I arrived besides Sue's husband, Greg. I asked him where everyone was. He said no one else could make it and it would just be us on the hike. It was early morning and still dark, and I did not know Greg other than seeing him in passing at Sue's house. I knew he was probably a nice guy, but I felt nervous going hiking in a dark, remote area with a man who was practically a stranger. I called Sue and she told me that something had come up with her kid, but I should still go. It would be worth it for the view, etc., etc. I still felt unsettled and asked Greg if we could postpone for a day when others can come. He got frustrated, saying it's no big deal and we should hurry up and start. I was more nervous at that point and thanked him before saying I was going to head home. That upset him even more and he came towards me and asked me if I thought he was a serial killer. He seemed angry, so I panicked and jumped in the car saying I had to go. He kept yelling at me to stop as I drove away. I was on the way home terrified when Sue called me. Apparently the hiking trip was a cover for a surprise birthday party the team was throwing me at the lookout point. She found out my birthday through Facebook and Greg was just supposed to lead me there. I felt terrible and offered to drive back, but Sue was pissed and said I ruined it for everyone and made Greg feel like a creeper. Now the environment at work is tense. Sue and my coworkers only talk to me when they need something and they did not invite me to team lunch. I feel like I really messed up. I can see why you felt uncomfortable. I don't think anyone would feel comfortable going on a hike with a man they barely know, but you did the right thing by leaving when you did. It's understandable why he was getting mad after finding everything out, but in the situation you were in, it must have been frightening to see him like that. I think it's pathetic that they are now avoiding you. I get that they had very good intentions with the surprise birthday. I just think they could have gone about it in a much less spooky way. You're definitely not the jerk, but maybe you should be the one who breaks the silence and has a talk with Sue to try to sort things out. It's not a good idea to be working with people who are avoiding you. If you enjoyed these stories, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Check out the other videos on your screen right now. Otherwise, you're definitely the jerk.